name is Andrea Morrow, and I'm a PhD student in the Instructional Technology and Design program at the University of Southern Mississippi. And what you're about to see is my video reflection concerning instructional design. So I'll be discussing its principles and theories and its definitions, components, phases, as well as its advantages and limitations. I'll also discuss areas of work and industry impacted by instructional design, and I'll talk about what I think the future of instructional design is. So I hope you find it interesting, and thank you for viewing.
This is my definition of instructional design. Instructional design is a systematic process involving the analysis of learning needs and instructional goals to create and develop instructional content, materials, and activities in order to produce desired learning outcomes. In addition, instructional design models or theories may be thought of as frameworks for developing modules or lessons that increase and/or enhance the possibility of learning, encourage the engagement of learners so that they learn faster and gain deeper levels of understanding. But more about models later. Instructional design is based on theory. Instructional design theory is founded in learning theory, behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism, pedagogical theory, like approaches to teaching through methods and strategies, and instructional theory, which is prescribing how people learn. There are 6 key principles or assumptions that underlie or form the basis for instructional design. These are that instructional design is a systematic process rather than a chaotic and random activity. Instructional design is problem-solving oriented. Instructional design is learner and learning-centered in contrast to teaching or medium-centered. Instructional design has as its main goal to be effective, efficient, and motivationally instructive. Instructional design insists on congruence among objectives, instruction, and evaluation. Instructional design is both empirical, which means it's based on what is observed, and theoretical, which is concerned with an area of study rather than its practical application, as opposed to intuitive. Next up, the instructional design model. Instructional design or instructional systems design models are visual or verbal representations of the instructional design process that are used to guide and complete design in many training and educational settings. The instructional design model is based on theory or practice. It gives structure and meaning to a problem. They can be procedural and conceptual, and even motivational. And some examples are the ADDIE model, the Assure model, the Dig and Carry model, Kemp's model, and Gerlach and Elliott. Here's the ADDIE model. It is a basic instructional design model. It's customizable. And here are its components. ADDIE is an acronym for Analysis, Design, Development, Implementation, and Evaluation. Here are the different phases of the ADDIE model. In analysis, the initial information gathering activities assess the what, who, how, and why of instructional activity. In the design phase, we design the objectives and desired outcomes of the instructional activity and the overall plan, such as timelines, strategies, lesson plans, and so on. In the development stage, here's the actual making of the instructional materials, including instructor guides. Implementation is putting the plan and the instructional materials into action and completing and offering, for instance, a computer-based instructional module. In the evaluation stage, which is ongoing, we check for the effectiveness of the instructional program both immediately and in the long run. Here are some areas that instructional design has a major impact upon. In the business world, in higher education, in the military, in consulting with engineering, modeling, and simulation researchers, in technology integration in K through 12, in human performance technology, in cognitive and learning sciences, and in digital literacies. Here are some advantages of instructional design. The learner, not the content, is the focus of instruction. It supports effective, efficient, and engaging instruction. It supports coordination among designers and those who instruct. It facilitates dissemination since the result of applied instructional design is a reusable product. And instructional design supports alternative delivery systems. Instructional design facilitates compatibility among instructional objectives, learning activities, and assessment. In addition, the systematic approach of instructional design ensures that there is in fact a need for training or instruction, the learning events are well designed, quality training materials are developed, learning events are implemented using appropriate strategies or approaches, and learning events are evaluated to ensure that learning has taken place. Some limitations of instructional design. It can be very time-consuming to implement, depending on the model used and so on. It can be very costly for the client. It can be very linear for the designer, depending on the models used, and therefore very limiting. Some instructional designers may feel constrained by instructional design models and feel limited in creativity. It can be challenging to find the right tools and materials to match the instructor. It can be time-consuming to develop original materials or redesign materials. Or maybe appropriate or ideal tools, materials, and setting are not available. Next, how would I use instructional design, currently and in the future?
So currently I use instructional design in my information literacy lessons with elementary students. I've used the ADDIE model for designing my information literacy classes, and an example would be When the fifth grade students, I reintroduce them to the reference collection every year, and in the past it's just been me lecturing the students on what the reference collection included and its resources, and of course this is always met with yawns and disinterest and behavior problems and interruptions, but in using the instructional design model, I did assess a need for this objective, and I conducted an informal paper and pencil, just multiple choice type thing to see how much they knew about the reference collection and reference resources. So, I mean, they knew the terms and mostly what the books did, but dictionary, thesaurus, encyclopedia, atlas, almanac, but they never really went to the reference section just to peruse and see what an almanac was or what was inside. They briefly had formal instruction in these resources, but never really used them on their own. So there definitely was a need, and so I put students into groups of 2 or 3, and gave each group randomly 3 different resources to locate. So it was sort of I used a discovery and exploration strategy, and they had to go seek and find those materials, and once they found them, they sat down and had to inspect the title, the table of contents, the index, and skim and scan the books to conclude what types of information could be obtained from that resource. And then the students filled out a form, which I created to sort of guide them through their exploration of the reference resource. And then each group was given the choice about how they were going to share the information, and they could do pretty much anything they wanted. And some students acted out scenarios about each title, each book, and what they did, what information you could get from that resource. One group sang a rap song, and some students created cartoons explaining their discoveries. One group simply shared aloud what they found and how to use the reference book, and what the book would be useful for. Then all the students blogged about their experiences, and so the students could personally address other students and comment on their presentations, and so that experience took place over 2 class periods, the exploration and discovery, and getting their information together and coming up with how they would share with the class. And the 3rd class, we had a open discussion just about the reference resources, what we could use them for, when they would be helpful in our lives, and they shared if they had any problems they encountered, or just kind of reflecting on the exploration experience. And then later, based on these experiences and the results, I was able to evaluate how the unit went and make adjustments or revisions for the next time I would do it. Overall, the students seem to have learned a lot. They seem to like being self-directed and definitely having control over how they were going to present their information. In the future, I would like to use instructional design in a much broader sense. I see myself working for probably a school district, but maybe in some way bridging the gap between the curriculum and instruction department and technology, or fulfilling both those roles if possible.
The future of instructional design. In education, since schools need to be able to do more with less, concept and the ability to create reusable design will be critical. As technology evolves, so do new instructional technology tools become available to incorporate into instructional design, and the instructional designer will need to be on the cutting edge of knowledge, benefits, and implementation of these tools. The use of educational gaming in K-12 classrooms continues to grow and be utilized as an effective teaching and learning strategy. So, instructional designers need to be able to conceptualize, design, and implement educational games in the learning environment. In K-12, as well as in higher education, as the enrollment, use, and creation of online classes increases, so will the need for flexible and adaptable instructional designers who possess the skills to create dynamic, engaging, and highly useful, intuitive online instruction. And not just online instruction, but mobile technology. Mobile technology is a growing and powerful trend. People now spend more time on mobile apps than they do on the web. Instructional designers need to be able to leverage mobile technology in ways that make sense for our teaching methods and student learning. Instructional designers need to be at the forefront of understanding the principles and designing mobile learning, the pedagogies for teaching with mobile technology, and learn the tools for creating and implementing mobile instruction. In business and industry, more attention is beginning to be paid to performance improvement and support and knowledge management. Performance improvement is increasing the output or effectiveness of a particular process, procedure, or individual through analysis and modification. The goal of performance improvement is to increase organizational effectiveness and efficiency. You can see why instructional designers would be very useful in performance improvement. Knowledge management in both business and education. Knowledge management involves capturing, developing, sharing, and effectively using organizational knowledge. It refers to a multidisciplined approach to achieving organizational objectives by making the best use of knowledge. And this is of the organization's knowledge and of individuals' knowledge. Knowledge management programs can yield impressive benefits to individuals and organizations if they are purposeful, concrete, and action-oriented. Again, you can see how useful an instructional designer would be in this field. Emerging technological innovations, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, and whatever comes next. Instructional designers will need to stay on top of current research in emerging technology fields in order to learn about what can enhance their current work in instructional design in many different fields. Social media in business, education, and in itself. Social media can be thought of as communication tools that allow users to create, modify, and/or distribute content. So as an instructional designer, you can use social media tools to do many things. You may need to provide a means of social learning and communication when the learners are spaced far apart. This could be for a business or organization that needs users to solve small everyday problems, create an environment that supports creativity, form work groups as needed to address business challenges, or build a work environment that is flexible. Instructional designers need to be able to use social media to assist their clients in creating their own collaborative knowledge bases. Also with social media, you can create or enhance team building within an organization, business, or school by increasing participation, helping to represent the corporate brand, and developing community. The future for the instructional designer is, by nature, the instructional designer doesn't fear change, embraces technology, and thrives in an environment that is constantly shaping and developing. The future instructional designer needs to keep up with trends to stay current and relevant in an increasingly competitive, multidisciplined, and dynamic field. Instructional designers need to always be creative and think outside the box.